Hello, friends, and welcome to Season 7 of the Future Ready Librarians podcast series, Leading from the Library. This is a podcast for all librarians wherever you are in your journey. It is filled with amazing guests, important topics, and engaging conversations that will inspire, engage, and support all of us as future ready librarians. I am your host, Shannon McClintock Miller. I am the district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community School in Van Meter, Iowa, and serve as the Future Ready Librarians Leader. I have the pleasure of working within my library and school community and also with others around the country and world through Future Ready Librarian events, conferences, consulting, writing, and more. I am honored to bring these voices and the work of others to our podcast and to all of you. And today we are so lucky to welcome one of my new friends. I actually connected with her at the past ISTE, and it was so amazing because she has so many wonderful ideas. And as we were talking, we had people that we knew in common and a lot of ideas and things in common. But the neat thing about it was that we connected over Sonia's Digital World, my new book that came out at ISTE. And when we were talking, not only did I love the things that our guest did around literacy, I loved her ideas about things that she wanted to do with Sonia. And so thus this friendship started, and we have been talking, and I've been following her great story around what she's done with Sonia. And so I'm very excited to welcome my new friend onto our podcast today.
Thank you, Shannon.
I know we had a little troubles getting on, but now I'm so happy to see you and have you on. And I just want everybody first to get to know you, to find out where you're from and what you do, and if there's anything special that you want to share with all of us.
So I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me today. I'm so glad to talk with you. My name is Rachel Sebastian. I am a K-4 librarian, and I work in a school district about an hour away from Philadelphia. I am living my dream in the library every day with these kiddos. I actually, prior to becoming a librarian, I was the STEM teacher in this building. And I was so entrenched in all things literacy and integrating technology tools to promote literacy. So it was such a natural transition for me to come from that STEM world into the library. And we've been able to overlap the two, and it's been so much fun and so wonderful.
Yeah, that's like the perfect connection, right? Like I think back to even when I started as a librarian. I think I've been a librarian now for 17 years. I was counting that up the other day. And just all the things before we really talked about like STEM in schools or STEAM or whatever we said, all the great things that we can do in libraries. And so to have that background, your kids are really lucky because you get to bring that even more to your library.
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's really been to integrate all of the things we did, like I said, with technology tools, with engineering, with maker spaces, with digital citizenship. Everything has just come together. So it's such a great bridge between the two.
Yeah, totally. Well, one thing that I really am interested in having you share with our guests is how you have just nurtured that literacy and community connections through this StoryWalk that you have put together with Sonia's Digital World. And I know that that's something that people have probably seen, like StoryWalks. Maybe they've seen them in their own town or they've seen them online. And a lot of times, like even you and I, we had questions about how that would work and who we would contact and how we would make it happen. And so I just want this to be really about just a story walk like 101 for our listeners about how you did this. And we can start with just talking about like, what is a story walk?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say when I saw Sonia's Digital World and I saw how it spotlighted all of those digital connections with her family and friends in the community, I thought, oh my gosh, this would be the perfect book to put in a story walk, which essentially is a trail that you follow. Sometimes that trail is made up of a permanent installation of signs. Sometimes, as what we did, it's more mobile. So we put some signs into the ground. But in any case, what you want is an opportunity for families and friends to walk a path or a trail and be able to piecemeal enjoy a story and to really be able to engage while they are reading that content. So that's exactly what we did. We put it up in a community park in August at the height of the swim season. We put it right outside of the entrance to our community pool. That's where it started, and it was just such a cool experience to watch families go through that and to talk about, grown-ups and kids, what it means to be a healthy digital citizen and to really expand their horizons on that. It was really awesome.
I know. I saw the pictures and it was so fun just to see the kids with the families. I think that's one of the neatest things about what StoryWalks can bring. My sister Heather, she has done a lot in her town of Amana around their giant lily pad pond that they have there. And it's just so neat because people are out walking and they're with their families or with their friends and they can have these conversations. And that's something that, when I was talking to my public librarian today, thinking about the benefits about a story walk, like, let's just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with family engagement and kids and grown-ups talking together as a family about topics that are so pertinent. And I don't think there's anything more pertinent than young people learning to be healthy digital citizens. So that time they're spending together, what I observed that give and take of the grown-ups reading, the children reading, and them extracting details from the text and the illustrations. It was just such a rich experience to watch them go through that. I think that when you have that path set up for families to follow, it's really engaging for kids and it really chunks it in a way that helps them get the most meaning from the story. It was just really awesome to watch the kids sustain their attention from beginning to end and to extract that meaning from each page spread.
Yeah, that's really something that I know that my sister, like, she always shares with me the books that she chooses, and you want to make sure that it is a book that, number one, can promote like conversation, but also that kids really stay involved in. And I think that's one of the fun things. And we can tie it into events, or we could tie it into a special, back to school, or like us in our community, we're going to do it around Digital Citizenship Day. So many different ways we can tie it into, and that's a great benefit.
Yeah, when you select a book for a story walk, you're looking for illustrations that pop,
Yeah.
illustrations that draw kids in and keep kids in. And you're also looking for a certain amount of text because you want enough meat there for families to have those meaningful conversations, but yet you also want to keep kids engaged all the way through. And I saw kids on the story walk as young as 4 years old, all the way up to upper elementary. And the engagement was there regardless of the age.
Oh, that's so cool. That makes me happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, the big part of a story walk too is the planning. And I know there are a lot of steps into planning a story walk. And I would just like to start from the beginning so our listeners, they can know how they can make a story walk happen in their community too.
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is connect with the publisher. And I just want to say thank you to Capstone for being so fantastic and for communicating so well with me about what we can do with the story. I know a lot of educators and librarians have used the actual printed book and they've gotten permission from the publisher to use the printed book. I was so thrilled that we were able to use some digital images from Sonia because that enlargement of those images, again, the illustrations pop. And to see those larger illustrations on each sign, I mean, it was really enticing for families as they were passing by. It really drew them in. So the first step is to connect with the publisher. After you've selected the text, connect with the publisher and get that permission in order to use that for your event.
Yeah, that was something that was really helpful for me too, just not only for Sonia, but for the future, to be able to write and then they send back like a permission form, and publishers love that. They want you to celebrate their books and to share how the kids and families interact with them. And so I thought that was so much fun. So you have your permission, then what do you do?
So the next thing I did was I looked for a printer to get those images printed, and I was able to get them as large as 18 by 24. And I talked to a couple different printers, and that was pretty much the standard, that you can't really get them bigger than 18 by 24 if you're going to print them on paper. One thing that I'm highly recommending, one thing that's been so successful with the StoryWalk, we used what's called poly paper, which is essentially very flexible plastic, completely weather resistant. It has made it look so much more professional than laminating. I'm thrilled with it. It has held up absolutely perfectly. I adhered those to my metal sign inserts, and they have fared so well. I'm highly recommending you look into that poly paper.
And then you just did that through your printer, right?
Yeah, I actually ended up, it was actually the printer that introduced me to the poly paper, and the printer was able to print on that poly paper. And then I did experiment with a couple different type of adhesives, and I ended up going with a painter's tape. They actually have one that's weather resistant. I use the regular painter's tape. And as long as you go to the edge, it is such a professional looking product. I was absolutely thrilled with it.
So then you put the painter's tape around the edge of it before you put it into your insert, correct?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you put the poly paper on the sign insert, and then you slide that onto the metal frame, which is nice because in August, we had some really strong storms in Pennsylvania. So I would actually go to the park before the storm, pull the sign inserts, leave the frames in the ground, pull the sign inserts, and then put them back in after the storm.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's a good idea.
so that really helped too. Now, I think, regular rain, that would be no problem. You could keep them out in regular rain. I was concerned about the high winds, and I just wanted them out of the storm. But the way that we went with the metal frames and then the removable inserts makes it really easy. I did the same thing here at school when we did it. I'm able to put them in and out as needed, and it's a piece of cake.
And the inserts are metal too, correct?
They are. Yep.
So that makes it really sturdy, easy to use, and easy to use again, which is great.
Yep, and portable. I've been able
Yeah,
to take it from the park back for storage here at the school. Everything fits in my SUV. And also those sign inserts are double-sided, so that's a consideration too.
I
Do
was
you
thinking
want to
that.
use both sides of signs? I chose not to use both sides of the signs because I wanted outside of the pool entrance for somebody to be able to look down and see that path and see that story progression. So that does mean you have to use more frames and more inserts. But for me, that was a really engaging way to get families onto the story walk.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to do. Like when I've been at story walks in my town or other places, and you think about walking along a pond or a path or something, like even though it's neat that there's a sign in the back, I think that does help the progression of them, like sharing a story, just like how we read a story too.
Yeah. And what's really nice too is you did such a great job on that educator's guide. Thank you so much for that educator's guide. So we were able to connect Pebble Go articles to the book, which was really nice because on the one where we can connect the Pebble Go articles with the Eagle, for example, we put on the back some reminders for families, some general reminders about where to go so they could find their child's Pebble Go login. That was such an important part of this, and that was such a win-win because then we were also engaging families in Pebble Go during the summer.
I
So
love
it was really just, some one-stop shopping here literacy-wise. But I used the back of the sign to it didn't detract from the story, but then parents had a moment to stop and say, okay, I know where to go on the school website to find that link to get to Pebble Go, and then I know where to find my child's password to get on Pebble Go also. So that
Yeah,
was great.
awesome. Yeah, because there's an eagle and a walking stick and all kinds of things that they can do, which I love.
We loved that Pebble Go connection, and so did families.
Yeah, we have too. That's been just so fun at school this fall. So you have your story walk put together, and then I think the next thing is probably just that promotion of it, right?
We did promote, and I also want to point out we really partnered well with the municipality. I actually went to a borough council meeting and attended and talked to the borough council and talked to the other community members that were there. And that has forged a really great partnership and strengthened some ties between the municipality and the school district. So that was a component. And then we just marketed like crazy. One tip I have for you, especially if you're doing it during the summer and you happen to have a breakfast or lunch program in your community, I took signs and I put them right in the lunch line. We have this past summer, Pennsylvania was lucky enough to have a free lunch program for youth 18 and under in our school district. So I was able to catch so many kids and their families because the families go through the lunch line with the kids. So I was able to catch kids there. I put signs at the local market, which again forged some community partnerships because you're promoting literacy events together. I worked with our public librarian. I put signs there. All of the places that I knew families were going to be. Outside where they serve school lunch, I used one of our metal signs in the ground and I promoted it with that. So we used, of course, social media. Our school district used social media. We used Class Dojo to also promote it. So we did a lot of promotion and we had a rain date. That's also a
Oh,
consideration.
yes, that's a good thing. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because
now.
in addition to the story walk, we had a family literacy night that families could come in one of the pavilions in the park and do some of the awesome activities that you put together in the educator guide for Sonia's digital world. And we did have, like I said, a lot of storms the week that this launched. And we were able to very easily pivot and go to our rain date the next night. So I'm highly recommending that if you're going to have some type of launch event for your story walk, that you automatically market your rain date right away.
Yeah,
That was
that's a really good point because just like any event, like for kids, you would want to make sure that you had a backup.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly. And we used a Facebook event, which was also very powerful. The district created a Facebook event. We were very easily able to update that event. So all those people that had said they were interested or were coming got that automatic notification that the event was postponed to the next day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's so great. And so then as you had it around your family night, which I think is genius. And something that I also think is really special about what happened is that other people saw what you were also doing, other places or organizations. And I think that's something we were talking about that today, my public librarian friend and Van Meter, Jonathan, and I, just about how these partnerships can really just spark so many relationships, when it comes to not only our families, but even with the community too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I had mentioned to you before that one of our Facebook librarian groups for here in the county, I mentioned it on there, and there was a lot of buzz and chatter among the librarians there. That also connected us as educators and librarians, which was awesome. I also do some work with a local college through their Total Experience Learning program. It also attracted their attention. So we're going to do some things with them for Digital Citizenship Week coming up in a few weeks. So there's been a lot of partnerships nurtured through this book and through the content and message of this book.
I love it. And so, I mean, I think it's just so neat how Sonia's digital world is all about, of course, how she connects digitally, but ultimately just how she is connected and how her and her family and friends are. So that makes it really special too. You picked a good one, girl. So I
Well, thank
I
you
love
too.
it. And I just can't even wait. And one thing that we were talking about right before, I think that it would be so neat to also share, what you just did when you took the kids out. And not only like that connection that you can have with your families, but an important part for me, even at our town, is to have it close enough to the school that we can use it also with lessons that I'm doing or our teachers. And when you were sharing that before, I thought that'd be a great thing to share with everyone too.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to make sure that there's equity, because I know, for some reason or another, families can't get to the story walk. I want to make sure that all children get a chance to experience it. So today, I was able to take kids outside and they were able to use the story walk signs here on our campus to preview the text. So I was able to purchase a whole class set of the book, which has been awesome. So in order to help the kids preview that text, they went outside and they were working in small groups, and each group was at a different sign and they were previewing pages. And what I mentioned to you before we got on here is that I was able to do some guiding questions for them since I can't be with every group. I'm rotating throughout groups. I was able to do some guiding questions for them so they hear my voice, and I'm guiding their thinking a little bit. They're still carrying that cognitive load and they're analyzing the text and the illustrations and wrapping their head around that. But I'm there kind of guiding them to what to look for, drawing their attention to certain things. I know that page spread where the kids are in the library and you have some children on the rug and the chairs using the merge cube, and then you have some other ones creating a game. I was able to kind of get their attention to certain details, and then they're able to talk about what they're noticing and what they're wondering prior to digging into the whole text. So that was such a great previewing strategy, so incredibly engaging as a launch for them.
Yeah, I think that is really a neat idea. And that's something that people should think about, when they are like the placement of it and how they're going to use it, and just so important for how you can use it for so many different things.
Yeah,
You've thought about it
absolutely.
all. So I know. Do you have your next story walk in mind, what you're going to
Um,
use?
you mean where we're going to use Sonia's? Is that what you're talking about? The
Yeah,
next
or
one?
Sonia or another
Well,
book.
I have to tell you, there's over 100 educators from the region gathering on October 9th, and we are going to twist this a little bit. And now we're going to present this to educators so that
Oh,
other educators can see how this book can be used. So when we gather, the story walk is going to be set up, and some of the ideas we just talked about, I'm going to take all of my things with me so that these educators can see how it's being used, how you can use it on campus to preview and launch the reading of the book, how you can engage families not only on the story walk but also at some type of family literacy night, and use the educator's guide to produce those activities. So that I am super pumped about that, because we're able to connect with all these educators on such a timely topic, because they'll be able to leave that professional development before digital citizenship week, and employ the book in their instruction back in their home districts.
I love that. Make sure you share soniasdigitalworld.com so they have everything they need. Reach out if they have questions, because, or anyone listening too, happy to help you and happy to just make this happen in your community too.
Yeah, I also want to mention I loved too, Shannon, that you made the collection of objects in Merge EDU. That was so fantastic. I think you had shared on your blog a QR code that went straight to that collection. That was so well received by families. I know the educators are going to love that. That's going to be a really huge component too.
Well, and that's really neat too, because with Merge, like anyone can make the paper cube, anyone can make a paper one. And I loved working with them to put together that collection. We had the kids like just looking at the book, and after we had read it with novel effect, and they were using Merge for the first time, and they were so excited even to look at things like the iPads
Mhm.
and all the technology that's in there, not just the animals that were featured in the book. And so it was a really great experience for our kids too, but I can't wait to tie that into our story walk.
Yeah,
I,
they love that. The families love that. And I think introducing that, um, introducing that to families was really cool too. We were able to print some of those paper cubes off of the website, and they were able to take that with them. So it was just all around such a win-win to introduce the families to so many different components of digital literacy.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I met you at ISTE, and just so happy that you took Sonia and did all the things with your story walk and continue to celebrate her too.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you to you.
Yeah, it's so great. So tell everybody if there's anywhere that they can find you online too, because people always like to know that.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And my handle is Rachel Sebastian. So it's my last name is Sebastian. So you just leave off the N. So that's a great way that you can reach me. That's probably the best way to reach me. I'm really active in the library community. I actually also do the X tweets. I guess I don't know what we're calling them other than tweets right now, but I do that for the State Library Association too, the PSLA. So I'm very active on X on the platform, and that's a great way to reach me.
Very good. Oh, thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. And I hope to see you at ISTE next year too.
Likewise, Shannon. Thank you so much.
As always, thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for this episode of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. And a very special thank you to our sponsors, Follett. You make a difference in our libraries, schools, and within our lives and that of our students every day. We appreciate everything you do. I hope you can take what you learned in today's podcast and put it to use within your practice as a future-ready librarian. If I can support you in any way, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram at Shannon M. Miller, or to my email at shannonmcclintockmiller@gmail.com. I am always happy to help. Until next time, friends, keep finding ways to lead within and from your library.